A lonely old man and his dog sift for gold on a river bed. He scoops mounds of earth and washes it off in the gentle flowing stream. He has early luck and a tiny speck of gold shimmer in his fingers. There must be more, he thinks. He lets out a victorious shout. The next day, he starts digging for the gold veins. Even the horse is eager for some gold, and he hooves the earth with curiosity. Warplanes fly above them heading inland. The Second World War is coming to an end and Germans are losing. He can see the destruction of the bombs in the distant night sky. The next day, he strikes a vein of pure gold. Just a few feet under the surface, the precious metal waits. The man nearly loses his mind seeing all that gold. Gold does drive men crazy. He harvests the vein and stares at it with greedy eyes. He had found his prize and no one would take it away from him. By bad luck, the gold miner is traveling on the same road as a Nazi company of soldiers. They stop their vehicles and laugh at the man for heading towards destruction. They are a cruel bunch and are abusing captive women. The gold miner minds his business and is about to be shot. However, the commander stops the sharpshooter. The company resumes their travel out of Finland. It is a gruesome road and many men have been hanged on electricity lines. Unfortunate souls lost as victims of war. A few paces further, there are more Germans. These ones are not so kind and make him get off the horse. They even inspect his bags and find he is a gold miner, so they start harassing him. They find gold and decide to kill the man. They are happy for they think they're rich. The man gets really angry and with one thrust plunges his knife through the man's skull. The Nazi company hears the commotion and turn back. They are surprised by the carnage, but a dying soldier shows them the gold. Greed lights up in their eyes as they also decide to go after the man. They use their tank to bomb the man but they miss. His horse is such a lifesaver and he goes out of range. Unknown to him, he has just walked into a minefield. The horse triggers a mine and gets blown to pieces. The gold miner wakes up and mourns his horse for half a minute. He then remembers the gold, which is now scattered all over the place. He is still collecting it and putting it in the bags when the platoon arrives. Their eyes are wet with desire for the shining gold, but they let him collect it for them. Once done, he picks an extra stone and stares at the soldiers about to shoot him. Using the stone he triggers a landmine and receives a barrage of bullets, which he narrowly escapes using an impenetrable shield. This man might be a god or something else out of this world. The commander asks a soldier to follow him and check. He gets hit in the head with a landmine and blows up in pieces. The commander sends two more soldiers and they both get blown by landmines. They decide to tie up the captive girls and make them trigger the landmines instead. The commander picks up a dog tag and they call base to confirm the man's identity. They find that he is a Finnish commando who went rogue and lives as a one-man death squad. The commander learns that his name is Koshai in Russian, meaning the immortal. The allure of the gold is too much though and there is no turning back. Koshai comes upon a burned truck. A man lies inside the smoking vehicle, dead. Koshai decides to check his gunshot wounds, filling them up with dirt to stop the bleeding. He faints from blood loss and only wakes up when the tank rolls up on the road. He is lucky they do not see him immediately, but the sniffer dogs are onto him. He cannot stay there, so he grabs onto the truck and gets pulled along to cut off his scent. He punctures the gas tank and the dogs lose track. He tries to run but gets shot in the leg. He is a crazy man and he sets himself on fire to scare the dogs set upon him. He then disappears into the nearby river, but how long can a man hold his breath? Definitely not forever. The commander sends soldier to get the gold from the drowning man. This is no normal man. He slits the soldier's throat and steals his air. More soldiers jumps in but no one is coming out alive or with the gold. He steers the boat from underwater and makes it to the other side. With a corpse on his back, he runs from the turret gun's shots and barely survives. As fate would have it, his little doggy is found by the evil soldiers. Will this be his Achilles heel? The man walks by night and arrives in his town. He cannot believe his eyes as he watches the whole town goes up in flames. Nazi destruction is indescribable. He finds shelter in a nearby gas station. It has been blown up pretty bad too, but he is too fatigued to care and he is bleeding out. He struggles to stay awake but his hand slips as he passes out. When he comes to his senses, a dog is barking in the distant night. His little doggy comes running and yelping to him. Peculiarly, it has dynamite strapped to its sides. Koshai tries to remove the dynamite in a hurry but it blows up in his face, knocking him out. The soldiers tie a noose around his head and hang him up without much ceremony. They even leave his tools on to add weight and kill him faster. Is it over for Koshai? Is he just a man? The commander thinks so and puts a single gold rock in his pocket. Koshai is not dead, not even close. He tries to get a footing after they leave. He lets a sticking iron into his open wound to hoist himself so he can breathe. Like the immortal he is still alive in the morning. A low-flying aircraft causes the rope to slip and Koshai lands on the ground. Two Germans have landed to refuel their plane and find Koshai and his doggy. They are surprised he is still alive and decide to end his suffering. Koshai is fast like lightning and breaks the man's leg. His co-pilot comes to check and gets knocked out cold with a stone brick. How is this man even alive after all the attacks? He buries the last gold piece. He is thinking of giving up and shooting the pilot. An idea hits him. These guys have a plane, probably even a map. He unburies the gold and clutches it tightly. He starts patching his many gaping wounds. It is a bizarre thing to see, for this man should not even be alive with this many injuries. He sticks himself with barbed wire and cleans his wounds with gasoline. The company army of soldiers thinks they have won and even taunt the girls. However, they come to a halt. The road is blocked. A mysterious warplane has crashed in the middle of the road. Two soldiers decide to check it out, only to find a dead pilot with a hanging rope on his neck, the same rope used to hang Koshai. Everybody gets scared and the commander tells everyone to get out of there fast. The captive girls tell the story of a man so determined that he becomes stronger with every attack, telling the soldiers they are already dead in his presence. The two soldiers suddenly get attacked by an unseen man and they get run over by the tank. The man, the ghost, the legend, walks into the truck himself, handing the girls guns. It is time to kill all the dirty Nazis. The Nazi soldiers are just enjoying booze and cigarettes. Koshai kills the driver and throws him out and gets one of the girls to drive the truck. He then jumps onto the tank. The ladies wave using the dead soldier to indicate everything is okay. The girl drives up to the truck full of sodas and the girls open fire, killing all the soldiers. Koshai begins attacking the tank with his stone pick hammer. They stop the tank and throw him off, but he is quick and dodges the bullets. A fist fight ensures with the sharpshooter, who gets his arm broken. The fight continues on the ground as Koshai beats the man senseless. Koshai grabs him by the cuff and the soldier whimpers like a child. The other soldiers even drop their guns and run away in his sight. He leaves the sharpshooter on the road at the mercy of the girls he had been abusing. It is his day of reckoning, a fate worse than death. Koshai takes the motorbike and goes after the commander. This is another man who must die. He is so merciless and shoots his driver on arrival at the airfield. He wants to be last person with the gold, so he gets on the plane with a friend and they start the takeoff run. Koshai is on the track and starts shooting the plane like a madman, but bullets do not damage the plane much. Using his stone pick, he plunges into the plane's underside. This man is truly crazy, unstoppable. He loses the grip and almost falls. Luckily, he grabs onto the landing gear. Like the crazy man he is, he plunges a hole in the plane and claws his way inside. The commander comes out with a machine gun but finds an enemy not seen before. It is a fight between two bulldogs, two commandos. Koshai gets a thrashing at first. The opponent is younger and not tired and battered or bruised like him. He is thrown to the ground and kicked like a pinata. A kick to the head almost knocks him out. The general has not had enough and prepares to whip him senseless, which he does with a metal strip, wondering why Koshai won't die. Still, he looks up with deathly eyes, unbroken. In a flash of a moment, he connects the metal to a bomb and releases it. The commander drops to his death and gets blown up into atoms. The pilot is dead. Koshai shot him during takeoff, so the plane is about to crash. Will he survive a plane crash too? There are not parachutes and the plane is catching fire and falling like a meteorite. Koshai straps himself and braces for impact as the plane crashes into bits. Imagine the luck, the plane crashed into a swamp. Koshai walks out of there like nothing happened. His gold on one shoulder and stone pick on the other shoulder. He has one goal, the bank, and he drives there casually. Everybody stops and stares as he strides across the lobby before he dumps all the gold nuggets onto the counter and he says, Ford is on the streets again, racing two cars. The race is tight and they are not playing fair, constantly trying to knock him off the road by zigzagging all over. They release nitrogen fuel to beat him and they move insanely fast. Luckily, Ford has a special bike and he moves past them on one wheel, clocking speeds over 160 miles per hour. Insane, right? Ford then goes collect a photo of his girlfriend from a diner, but the racers catch with him and start a fight. Ford punches them all over the place and smashes one racer's head into a car window before chasing them away. Ford catches up with his old crew and they decide to race each other on a dangerous twisting road. The turns are hard and their knees scrape against the tarmac. Ford and crew pass a blacks-only bikers gang and one falls from the whiplash. He immediately starts chasing them dangerously, but he crashes his bike. The black biker starts a fight with Ford, but Ford hits him with the helmet, only stopping to look the gang leader in the eye, ready for another conflict. The police arrive and they all leave, finally arriving at a bikers convention. There are pretty girls everywhere and Ford's friends start getting friendly with some of them. Ford finds his girl in a garage wiping a carburetor. He tries to get her attention, but she kicks his chair away. She is mad at him for running away. Before he explains himself, a gang leader called Henry arrives with his crew. They are a violent bunch and his girl even wants to cut Ford's girl, but Henry takes the knife away. Henry wants the drugs Ford stole from him and Ford's girl has a gun ready for anything. Henry pulls a knife and Ford takes the gun. Henry threatens to do the worst and his crew leaves pompously. The Ford crew follows a dusty path off-road and soon they are cleverly hidden in a tunnel so the gang loses track of them. Ford has a plan: steal Henry's bike to match the chain used to choke Junior to prove his innocence. Guess what? The Black Riders gang is waiting for them and it is time for chases again, this time into the palm trees. Can superbikes handle such terrain? Ford and his crew maintain the lead with the gang shooting at them, but the gang is not as good at riding and they crash all over the place. Ford is pulling tricks and causing them to crash into each other, but Jane is shot and crashes her bike. A gang member is onto her with two guns, but she knocks him out with an exhaust pipe and says you shouldn't pick on girls. Ford and the gang leader chase each other and get onto a moving train. These two are relentless and pull crazy stunts as they chase each other across the train, surprising the passengers. Ford gets down and onto the track, and the gang leader does the same with the train hot on the track. However, the biker gets busted and the black guy is almost run over by the train, but Ford saves him just in time before a big explosion. Ford even leaves the poor guy his bike. Ford and his crew sneak the bikes onto a truck to get past security just as the feds pull in. Lucky for them, the truck is let through a checkpoint without much fuss. Once checkpoint done and they are in Los Angeles. However, they soon get stopped again. The feds are onto them. What are they going to do now? The crew bursts out of the truck in a racing car and the others on their bikes. The black crew is on site and they join the feds and the police in the chase. The interstate is too busy, so Ford decides to take the bike instead, jumping out of a moving vehicle to switch drivers. Then he buzzes of at lightning speed, crashing through the barricades. They create a big mess on the road, riding on the wrong side, and the feds crash their Humvee totally. It is a road rash madness as Ford and the gang leader fight and crash their bikes, only to start a fist fight, but they are evenly matched. Ford gets a gun first, but he is not a killer, and he saved this guy's life once already, so he gives him the gun for a truce. They have a common enemy now, so Ford shows them where he stashed the bikes and the drugs, and Ford's crew is the gang's safe house. Ford decides to steal a Y2K bike, the fastest in the world, powered by a helicopter engine. The FBI agents arrive before they leave. One agent is dirty and he kills his partner. However, Ford has rigged the drugs and threatens to blow things up. Just then, Henry arrives with Jane and a crew member as captives. Fortunately, the FBI agent is not dead and calls for backup, also distracting the other agent to allow Ford and his friend to get away. The black gang leader uses a bike to knock over most of the thugs, pulling daring stunts while Ford fights the crazy lady who loves knives and Henry. One of the thugs has a shotgun on them, but he gets a chain to his neck, breaking his neck and hanging in the process. Henry gets away in the commotion, but Ford has the Y2K bike. Time for the super engines to run. The female FBI agent gets her payback on the betraying partner, blowing him to pieces, and all the drugs too. Jane and the gang lady decide to have a face-off too. They are experienced bikers and fight using their superbikes like knights on horses. They exchange punches on the bikes and Jane tries to kick her off the bike, but she pulls a knife and cuts Jane up. Jane is a formidable fighter and a gymnast, using a somersault to kick her into the curb. Ford is moving at a supersonic speed, breaking the car windows from the whiplash of the Y2K superbike. Henry hits the nitro button and accelerates beyond safe speeds. They are moving so fast the tarmac starts to burn, leaving a trail of fire. Ford is tired of the games and spins in the air, knocking Henry down and killing him instantly in a big explosion. Ford almost gets run over by a bus, getting kissed lightly by the tire. This is a lucky man. Jane picks him up. Soon they meet up with the black bikers gang. A new friendship is born, and Ford gets his girl back, kissing her passionately. Their next stop is the black bikers headquarters, trying to sell dope on their streets for a cut. But the leader says, "You are not slinging dope on my streets." Ford is still pursuing his girl Jane, however, she wants to race him instead of talking. These two are crazy and they race in a street full of people. Jane is cutting corners, but Ford wins hands down and Jane says, "All right, one beer, but you are buying." In the club, Ford bumps into the black biker from earlier and he acts disrespectfully, causing a scuffle. This young man is just asking for trouble, but his big brother saves him again. The drug-dealing bikers start a brawl in the club. They want to kill the young biker and he starts running away to a back room. However, it is a trap and a huge thug is waiting for him, smashing his head in the mirror. He had failed to set up a meeting with his brother as agreed. They pull out a bike chain and choke him to death with it. Poor guy. Ford is finally with his girl. They seem to be working things out. Jane is smiling and enjoying a beer on the merry-go-round. They even share a kiss. The black gang leader finds his brother dead and a fake witness says that a rider with black and orange leather killed him. That description fits Ford's riding gear. So he calls up the entire gang and asks everyone to search the town for Ford. The gang wars have begun and the feds are in town too. Ford is even on the news as a prime suspect for murder. A man in a barber shop spots Ford and calls the sheriff. Everybody gets in on the info, the feds and the blacks only gang too. Henry calls Ford and tells him it is he who set him up as leverage for the drugs. Some local guys try to harass Ford's crew with shotguns, but they quickly disarm them. But they have to get away fast. The gang is close. Time for chasers to beget chasers. Selene, a fighter vampire, watches helplessly as a fellow vampire dies after being shot with an ultraviolet bullet. They are in a fight with lycans, their mortal enemies. Bravely, she opens fire to retaliate. The lycans had tracked a human by the name Michael to a subway station. Michael is unaware he is a target and struggles to help victims of the crossfire. One of the vampires chases a big lycan in human form across the train, however, he changes into lycan form and tears the vampire apart. Selene kills one of the lycans in human form, but the transformed lycan is hot in pursuit. The lycans go back to their leader Lucian and report their failure. In anger he storms out to get Michael himself. He has been hunting for Michael Corvin. He has special blood type needed to make lycans stronger. Selene ambushes Michael to interrogate him, but Lucian attacks with lycans. Selene fights for her life, and Michael's breaks for it. Lucian is waiting by the elevator. Lucian bites him to get the blood sample. Although Selene saves Michael, Lucian has what he needs and the doctor confirms they have the right specimen. Lucian is still in hot pursuit and using supernatural abilities of a lycan. He easily catches up and starts attacking the duo. Magically Lucian removes the bullets he got from Selene. Lucian chases after Michael again, injuring Selene with his special sword. Due to blood loss, Selene collapses and crashes the car into a river. However, Michael saves her, carrying her ashore. Michael wakes up to find Selene by his side. She has taken him to her coven, against all rules to keep his kind out. But Craven, the leader, is not amused at all. The female vampire discovers Michael is bitten and jumps on the ceiling in fear. Michael is spooked too and he runs away. Narrowly, he escapes the vicious guard dogs. Craven worries about the skirmishes between the supernaturals and visits Lucian. However, Lucian chokes him, telling him to learn his place. Selene checks the archives that say Lucian was dead, learning that Craven corrupted their history and made a pact with the lycans. Deeply worried by the betrayal, Selene gives Victor her blood to wake him up. Victor is a strong elder vampire. Selene finds Michael and takes him to a vampire safe house. She kisses and chains him to prevent his transformation with the full moon. Selene goes back to Victor, but he is not convinced of the danger, so she runs back to check on Michael. The lycans follow her movements and trace her back to the safe house to abduct Michael. Selene shoots wildly to save Michael again. As the gunfight continues, Michael jumps out the window, magically landing unharmed. Michael decides to visit his friend in the hospital and get his wound checked up. Michael's friend has a hard time believing that a man gave him the bite and decides to call the police waiting outside the hospital. Back at the coven, while in recovery, Victor is reprimanding Craven for his treachery, promising him retribution. Victor is deeply pained by the revelation Selene showed him, and soon, he is strong enough to move around, donning his leadership clothes as the ruler of the coven. The police catch up with Michael as he comes from the safe house and abduct him, forcefully placing him under arrest in their car. Selene kills most of the attacking lycans, but one survives. This is the doctor working with Lucian on the hybrid project. The vampires are worried that war has broken out again, and their right for vampire elders are soon assassinated by a pack of lycans. Soon the moon is out and Michael starts nosebleeding, a sign of starting his lycan transformation process. It is not easy and his ribs break apart. His heart rises and his skin also changes to black. It turns out the police are lycans and they inject him with a transformation suppressor, preventing full transformation of Michael into a lycan. Selene returns to Victor with the lycan doctor who survived the onslaught on the safe house, proving Craven's lies. Under chains, the doctor is tortured to tell about their plan with Lucian. The doctor talk about tracing Michael Corvin and how they had managed to unite the bloodlines using his blood. The vampire guards arrive with news of the assassination. Victor realizes it is wartime and starts by executing the doctor right away. While Craven is having a private talk with Lucian, the vampire armies attack with grenades. It is an all-out war between the supernaturals again. Lucian immediately arms himself with vampire-killing UV bullets, ready to join the war. Craven takes out his gun and shoots Lucian in the back with silver nitrate bullets, lethal to lycans. While Lucian struggles to stand in pain, Selene arrives with more vampire reinforcements. One of the elder lycans finds Lucian lying dead. He storms out in anger after the vampires and crushes into one. He transforms into the beast form, and though the vampire tries to fight, he is no match for him. There are heavy losses on both sides and the vampire commander dies in the clash. Michael is saved again by Selene. Just before a lycan attacks him, Michael is grateful and kisses her. Lucian sees them and is happy for the hybrid union. Just in time, Victor arrives with a third wave of vampires, killing lycans like they are nothing, for he is the strongest vampire. In the meantime, Selene and Michael are trying to escape. They find Craven on the way and he shoots Michael many times with the poisonous bullets. Before Craven can finish him off, Lucian attacks with his special sword. He tells Selene to bite Michael to save him by turning him into a hybrid like he wanted. Lucian smiles as Selene bites Michael. Victor arrives and pulls Selene away, throwing her against the stone walls. He wants to kill Michael to prevent formation of hybrids. While Michael is transitioning, he is weaker and Victor almost kills him. However, Selene picks the sword and cuts Victor's head, and he falls down dead. Michael, the first hybrid, is finally safe. Kevin asks his agent to close her eyes and imagine climbing a mountain. Right at that moment, goons in tactical gear and guns break up the party. They start shooting in the air and flipping tables. Everybody scoots under the tables, including Kevin. One of the goons in a mask picks on Kevin, calling him a little man. Kevin tries to be brave but gets whipped with a gun as he tries to grab it. While distracted, the goon is grabbed by Kevin and almost knocked out. Kevin even sweeps one goon down and dismantles their guns. One goon pulls a knife on him, but Kevin uses a side of beef to disarm him and almost breaks his neck on the floor. Suddenly, everybody is clapping and the agent is confused. Turns out Kevin is trying to sell a script to the agent. It was all a demonstration act. Kevin is trying to be an action movie star. Unfortunately, the agent is not impressed and she tosses the script in the bin just outside the hotel. The next morning, Kevin is going on set. His assistants are all over him. Even a massage is ready. What a life this man has. The cast gives him a helmet and tells him to pretend he is riding a bike. His assistant even tries to demonstrate. Kevin loses his nuts and attacks the green screen. He is tired of stupid sets like this. The next day, Kevin is going to an interview and he gets mad at his driver, even telling him he is fired. The interview is with a man called Stromberg, a strange man who wants to fund his action movie. Kevin is beyond excited and says to the man, "I was in a dark place, man." Stromberg asks Kevin to look at a camera behind but shoots him with a tranquilizer gun. Kevin wakes up with a bag on his head. A huge masked man removes his gag. Kevin is screaming for help but gets slapped silly. Where is he? Is this the movie? He has no idea. Kevin thinks he is in a movie. He even laughs at the design. He decides to get in character, shaking his head to find the lines. Instead of saying any lines, the masked man takes shears and brandishes them. As he approaches Kevin menacingly, a sound comes from the speaker ordering the masked man to use something more painful. So he takes a power saw and puts it between Kevin's feet, ready to cut him in half. Kevin leans back in fear but then decides to headbutt him, knocking him down. He then drops down and uses the saw to cut the ropes binding him. He is not done and he punches the lights out of the masked man. As he is sneaking out, he finds gunmen at the door. His friend Jordan is also held hostage, tied to a metal bed frame and gagged. Kevin unties her and begins explaining it is a layout of a movie. She is not amused and starts slapping him around. She is mad at being abducted. So she walks out but finds the masked man. He takes an axe and hits her in the face. She is ranting about being hit when the man almost takes her head off. He is ruthless, so she decides to get in character, knocking him into a glass before choking him out. Gunmen are hot on their asses but they manage to get out safe, or are they? Kevin has blood on his shoulder. He does not believe it is real, but soon passes out from pain. They decide to go looking for Mr. Stromberg but only find the butt of a cigar. In a room they find a VCR device and tape. It is a Stromberg audition tape. There is a bomb behind and the two wonder what to do with it. Kevin thinks of throwing it in the elevator, and they run there to dump it before it blows. While they are thinking it's fake, it blows up and shakes the entire building. They are in big trouble now and they run out in fear. Luckily Kevin's assistant followed him and becomes their getaway driver. Kevin learns that he has a double, his stuntman, who is blowing his money. He is pretending to be Kevin for payback. Kevin decides to visit his mentor, a hairy man who lives alone in a forest. He is a psychopath and unwelcoming, threatening them with a crossbow. He has weird manners too, with his balls sticking out. He even pours hot tea on them. Enough of that. This man takes them for a walk in the woods. He tells Kevin's assistant to man up and asks Kevin to take him as an official sidekick. He is screaming at Kevin to become the mentor he came looking for when Kevin sees a familiar scar, the same scar on the man who almost split him in half. Is his mentor working together with the enemy? This is bad. The man goes to the house to get a war axe and kill them. Luckily, they are already spooked and leaving. They try to get into Kevin's compound but they find a big, mean guard who won't let them in. The assistant attempts to mess with him but he gets shot full of electricity. So at night they wear disguises and sneak in like delivery guys. The assistant is quite an actor and sneaks Kevin in a box. The ladies set up fireworks outside and draw the guard out. Jordan shoots him up full of electricity too. Sweet revenge. Kevin is stuck in a box and someone is cutting it up with a chainsaw. He thinks it's his assistant but finds it's the huge weird man he called mentor. Can an actor beat a stuntman? Kevin is in pain and starts calling out for his sidekick. He is almost breaking his arm when Jordan arrives and throws a knife, sticking him in the head. Weirdly, he does not fall dead and starts trying to cook, even waving at them before falling dead. They find that Kevin's assistant was captured by Kevin's double. He has a gun and the assistant is scared to death. The crazy double throws the young man down and almost kills him before shooting all over and running away. Kevin's assistant is hurt pretty bad. A big splinter is in his kidney. Doug the double comes down, brandishing a splendid sword. It is payback time. It's a bizarre fight as the stuntman kicks them around. He punches and kicks them effortlessly. Kevin is about to be impaled with the sword but Andre the sidekick saves him, sticking Doug with the splinter from his side. Unfortunately, it is Kevin who goes to jail. He screams, "Got the wrong guy! I'm Kevin Hart!" In 2000 years, there are no more humans and aliens are beginning to colonize Earth. Only one figment of humans remains, and his story begins shortly after the end of the world as we know it today. In a post-apocalyptic near future, humans have decimated the planet, causing global flooding of all coastal cities. A new civilization has arisen, and the governments in this new world impose strict controls on population. No one is allowed more than one child, even in sickness or death of the current child. In exchange, humans are offered mechas, mechanical humanoids that compensate for the lack of enough humans and resources. Scientists like Professor Hobby aim to improve the design of the mechas. As he demonstrates, they can feel pain, remember pain, and interact like humans. The professor also shows that they are just smart machines, by opening up the female mecha's pretty face to show a robotic assembly underneath. The professor proposes a new generation of mechas with emotions and capable of pursuing unprogrammed goals. He proposes that the scientists come up with a child precondition to map every neural connection on love of their parent. The other scientists object to the motivations, questioning whether the humans would love the mecha child back. In 20 months, the mecha child is ready for a candidate family, which happens to be Henry, a company employee, and his wife Monica. Their son Martin is a terminally ill child. He is kept in cryogenic storage. Monica still has strong emotional connection and reads to him in his comatose state since they cannot have another child without Martin. The doctors worry Monica may not cope well mentally, so the doctor proposes to Henry a way to release the suppressed grief. Henry gets screened for the pilot study for the emotional mecha child and passes. Henry brings David home as a surprise gift to Monica. Henry ambushes Monica with the decision. Naturally, she reacts hysterically and throws teary tantrums. She is offended at the idea of replacing their son with a robot child. After a good cry, she is calm enough to realize she can give it a try. Henry is persistent on the fact that the mecha child is a gift and not a replacement for Martin, their son. Henry warns Monica that their mecha child is unlike any other. He explains how activating the imprinting protocol is irreversible. Monica does not seem to understand that going back on her bond would devastate the child, and it would have to be euthanized and turned to scrap. The imprinting protocol is supposed to activate the neural pathway for unending love for whomever does the imprinting. The couple lets David settle in Martin's old room for the night. David is eager to be a normal boy and he asks Monica to tuck him in. With so many memories about Martin, it is too much and she runs away, locking the door in his face, as he follows with his pajamas in hand. She is grossly disturbed and curls at the door as Henry puts David to sleep. As any other boy, David is curious about everything, from Monica making her special coffee, to how she makes the bed and spreads the sheets. David is everywhere, but Monica is still uncomfortable, increasingly getting agitated by his presence. She is confused and ends up locking him in a closet. She regrets almost immediately and pretends it is hide and seek. She soon regrets that decision too as David comes looking during her private bathroom time. David does not eat at dinner, but is curious about the table manners. He imitates how Henry drinks, and how Monica struggles with the pasta. Monica gets pasta stuck, which drives David to laughter. Although spooked at first, the couple joins in the frenzy. Henry is pleased to see Monica smile after so long and is glad for David. Monica feels closer now to David and puts him to bed like a normal boy. You can clearly see that many memories of Martin still linger. She decides to activate the imprinting protocol the next day as she has accepted that she can love David as a real boy and not a machine. David is confused about the process and words spoken by Monica. As she says more code words, his face changes and becomes deeply emotional. His neural pathways recognizes her as mother, and he hugs her tightly, calling her mommy for the first time. Monica is confused at first, but the feeling of love is undeniable. Monica recovers emotionally and is ready to go out for fun again. Henry reminds Monica again that he is not a child but a special gift mecha. Just before they leave, David asks if he smells nice. Monica realizes he is wearing her perfume and runs up to check. She realizes he has used up all of her expensive scent and looks on the bottle sadly. David is unfazed and takes the moment to ask when she will die, too afraid to lose her. David swears his undying love for Monica, holding her tenderly by the knees, sensing his sadness. Monica gives David a super toy named Teddy for company. Meanwhile, Henry is getting agitated that they are getting too late. On another day, David is having fun with Monica, messing with the call. Henry is calling to tell Monica that Martin has been cured and is coming home. Monica is devastated and her scratching on the wall shows her pain. Martin is brought home but is still in recovery and is hooked up to medical apparatus. In time he gets stronger and meets David. Martin thinks David is a toy, and even tries to trick him into breaking some other toys. Martin has a dark side, saying toys look better in parts than whole. He examines David, remarking at how his creation is being taller than him and human-like. On asking about David's birthday, David draws what he saw when he first became self-aware, the symbol of Cybertronics Corp. Martin soon asks Monica to read them Pinocchio, to tease David that he is a toy. Monica reads to them tenderly, all day and even at night. David is fascinated about becoming a real boy by the magic of the blue fairy. Martin is not done teasing and toying taunts David during supper time, showing David that he cannot swallow his food because he is a toy. David falls for it. It turns to an eating competition. Henry and Monica are startled. Their efforts to break it up fall on deaf ears until David's face droops down like he has serious allergies. David has to undergo a clean-up surgery to remove the food debris from his circuitry. Monica is there to console him. This only fuels more jealousy from Martin. Monica is herself going through emotions comforting the Mecha child. Martin hatches another evil plan. He tells David that the reward is love if he cuts Monica's hair in the dead of night. Teddy hears the evil trick. David wants Monica's love, so he agrees, going at night with a pair of scissors in hand. Monica wakes up to find the blade close to her eye and almost loses the eye. Henry is beyond furious, almost breaking David apart in violent shaking. Monica intervenes, but David is even more confused, but Teddy gets the lock of hair David cut and pockets it. Henry is concerned that the child Mecha could hate just as it can love. Monica is upset and wants to hear none of it. It is Martin's birthday and David too has a gift for his human brother. Martin's friends are quickly curious about David, examining David just as Martin did previously, remarking at his exceptional design. Things go sideways when they trigger his defense mechanism. Feeling threatened, David holds onto Martin and does not let go, even when they fall in the pool. David holds on, for safety, unaware he is drowning the boy, until the adults wrestle him out of his hands. Martin is resuscitated, but the damage is done. David is abandoned in the pool alone for hours. In the evening, he is alone and writing in crayon. Monica enters the room, and the boy runs to her lovingly, only to be pushed back by the mother he loves so much. Monica finds David has written cute colorful notes highlighting all the ways he is a legitimate member of the family. Monica is moved to tears at the innocence of the child. Monica is in distress, and next day, David finds out why Monica is taking David out in their vehicle to return him to his makers for scrapping. Her conscience tells her to dump him in the forest instead. David has no idea and thinks it is just a picnic. Monica tearfully tells David that she must leave him there. This information is confusing to the child, who immediately thinks he is being punished. He promises to be good in all the ways a child can. Monica is hysterical but decided. She has chosen not to love David anymore. She struggles to tell David to avoid going to Cybertronics and to go into the forest. David still holds on, begging, crying, promising things, asking questions. Monica throws him to the ground and runs to the car. David is left behind with his teddy and some tokens. In a nearby city called Rue City, a pleasure mecha called Joe is meeting a client. He is a specialist in consoling hurting women and comforting them in whatever way they want. He calms the lady down with music and charming talk, and they get busy. It is a busy night and he walks into another hotel to meet another client. He is warned of anti-robot activists called flesh fair hunters who are operating in town. He is good at his job and he can change the color of his hair instantly. He goes to the bed to meet his lady client, but gets no response from her still body. He is shocked to find she is dead and bloody. Another man is in the room, confirming it is a setup. He even kisses the corpse. Joe is on the run, and is spooked by police cars, jumping into the alley to hide his face. He cuts out his operating license to avoid recognition by scanners. Joe takes to the woods. His good life has crumbled. David is in the same woods with his teddy. He is planning to journey in search of the blue fairy. His theory is that if he is a real boy, Monica would take him back. He sees a garbage truck that old and broken mechas run to salvage parts. David sees this as all too bizarre, and Joe is caught by the sight too. A peculiar moon rises and disturbs the self-repair party. All mechas start running away. It becomes clear they are the flesh fair hunters. David and Joe also run but do not understand the situation. Joe is particularly interesting to the hunters since he is in good shape. David meets a female nanny mecha on the run and they hide together in an abandoned shed. She is friendly and protective of David. They are rounded up in nets by bikers who throw magnets at the metallic mechas to slow them down. David and the mechas are holed up in a net. As Teddy tries to hold on, he falls to the ground, but the trees break his fall. Teddy immediately runs after the flying craft. David, Joe, the nanny mecha, and other mechas are taken to the flesh fair circus. Teddy tries to sneak in but is apprehended as a lost and found toy. In the circus, mechas are subjected to all sorts of destruction methods. An old comedian mecha is shot out of a cannon into flaming blades. David is horrified and he takes Joe's hand. Teddy is still struggling to get to David as he runs through the cafeteria towards David's cage. A small girl abducts him, thinking he is a lost toy again. However, he does not struggle. The girl notices David and is surprised how a boy is locked with the mechas. She tells her father, an organizer of the show, disturbed by the idea. He checks the video feed to confirm David is getting a lesson on the ongoing mecha genocide. He learns it is because humans fear that mechas are becoming superior. The girl and her father scan the boy and are shocked by his design. The leader of the show, however, is unbothered by the unique mecha child. Meanwhile, the nanny mecha gets destroyed by hot acid as David watches in horror. The showrunner takes out David to also face his fate in the carnage. David clings to Joe, who has no choice but to follow. David and Joe are strapped to the hot acid machine. The crowd cheers wildly as other mechas are destroyed. The showrunner tries to rile up the crowd in hate of the mechas. He is adamant that even mecha children rob people of humanity too. A drop of acid makes David start screaming for his life, which is unusual for mechas. Everybody falls silent until a woman stands up saying he is human, since mechas never plead for their life. The show changes as the crowd attacks the showrunner. They throw stuff at him and run into the circus rioting. The girl and her dad save David and Joe from the surging angry crowd. The two escape safely outside the Flesh Fair event. In Professor Hobby's office, there are David's pictures. Clearly he is a memory of his dead son. A scout team returns with news about David's whereabouts. Professor Hobby leaves to design a way to bring him home. Teddy, David and Joe are back in the woods. The moon is not a welcome sight and they turn away from it. David tells Joe of his quest to find a blue fairy. Joe is excited, thinking she is just another woman. Joe agrees to accompany David to Rue City to find the mystery lady. Joe believes almost any woman can be found in Rue City. Joe uses a hologram pen to trick some young men for a ride to the city, promising them fun with many mecha pleasure ladies. In Rue City, Joe takes David across some stops he thinks could be the location of the blue fairy. David asks about a blue angel lady statue. Joe explains that the human rituals in there are strange, but that the ladies there give him a lot of business. Joe tells David of an all-knowing program called Dr. No. They decide to go and ask it for the direction to the blue fairy. Using the tokens Monica gave David, they can ask only 3 questions. Although the program offers many options, a screen comes up with oddly specific details for David to follow. Joe knows that the place is a mecha-restricted zone and warns David that none return from there. David will not be deterred from his dream of becoming a real boy and he insists on going. Outside Dr. No's office, Joe is apprehended for the framed murder, leaving David to commandeer one of the aircrafts. However, he has no idea how to fly and he crashes into the police carrier. Joe is set free in the commotion and he joins David as the pilot, and together they escape the police and Rue City, headed to the end of the world as directed. After a long flight, they reach the edges of Rue City. This was previously Manhattan before the global flooding. Flying around the place reveals the mysterious reading was true, as there are great weeping statues of lions, so they know they have found the right place. Joe flies the aircraft into the building with the crying lion statues, and together they enter to find the blue fairy. They find a door with the inscriptions of the mysterious writing. They are words written on the door to Professor Hobby's office. On entering, they see no one in the office, but David finds another boy who says he is David too. This new David invites our David to a table to read with him. David is angry that the boy says he is David too. In his anger, he destroys the new David. Joe is scared and runs out with Teddy in hand. David is still smashing things and shouting he is special when Professor Hobby walks in on the distressed child. His first words are consoling David that he is a real boy. The professor goes ahead and tells David of his unique nature. He even confesses about the mysterious clue for leading him there. The professor apologizes for meddling but tells David he is a success for pursuing his own goal, which is the blue fairy. David realizes he is indeed unique and calms down. As the professor leaves to go get the development team, David wanders around. He finds other versions of him, probably earlier productions. There are also new models and a female companion called Darlene in the professor's workshop. There is a David skin under development too. As David looks through the eye holes, he sees the symbol he saw when he first came to being. He is now sure that is a cybertronic toy boy like Martin said. He goes outside and sits down to think in sorrow. It is too much to bear and he decides to drop into the depths. Joe watches on as David plunges into the water below. In the water, a mysterious school of fish carries David around the seafloor. He comes to rest in the bottom and sees something in the water. Before exploring further, Joe lifts him out with the aircraft arm. David tells Joe that the blue fairy is down there. Before going together, Joe is apprehended again by magnetic pull. While saying goodbyes, he puts the aircraft in submerge mode for David. He also asks David to remember his existence and tell ladies about him. David is by now a better pilot, so he steers the craft underwater nicely. He heads to a submerged carnival and sees the theme about Pinocchio. He follows the theme park to the place where the blue fairy statue rests. Coming to a halt, David immediately starts wishing to be made real. He does not notice that he tripped some wires, causing the Ferris wheel to fall on their craft. David does notice the blue fairy is not responding, so he still continues wishing. Teddy sits with him faithfully. A lot of time goes by. All the lights in the world go off. 2,000 years later, the Earth is now a frozen planet after the flooding. No humans live on Earth anymore, and some aliens are exploring the planet for colonization. A group of aliens is in Old Manhattan area, and they discover the craft hosting David and Teddy. The aliens bring the two out of the ice and discover the machine is still active. David convulses a little as his circuitry comes back online. David remembers his last goal, the blue fairy, and turning into a real boy, now in front of him. He gets out to touch the blue fairy and plead his case further. To his surprise and dismay, it shatters into hundreds of pieces. As the aliens scan his memories, they realize he was there in the age of humans. humans. They decide to study him further to know the planet. David wakes up to find himself in his old house. Henry, Martin and Monica are nowhere to be found. David searches around for them in vain. In one of the rooms, David finds an animated blue fairy. David asks her if she will turn HM into a real boy. She says it is impossible. David asks if she can bring back Monica, but she says that he has to have some DNA specimen to do so. Luckily, Teddy kept the small lock of hair David cut from Monica many years ago. David hands this hair to the blue fairy. It is the aliens trying to help David find love since he was the only one with such a need to be happy. The head alien tells David of their unsuccessful attempts to revive the humans and their fascination with human interpretation of existence. David learns that Monica would only live for one day if she came back. In the morning, David is told to go wake Monica up. He finds her in her old bed and plays with her hair for a bit. She has the most beautiful smile when he wakes her up. David starts their special day with a special morning coffee, which he clearly remembers it from his first days with Monica. David knows she cannot remember much, so he paints her many things to tell her of his adventures. As the day proceeds, they play hide and seek. Even Teddy is in the game too, falling over from the scares. Monica and David bake a cake, but as David blows out the candles, he leaves one candle for Monica. She does not know she has only one day, and this makes David sad, but at least she is there for now. Monica starts to slow down. By the end of the day, she has to go to bed, for she will die again soon. After getting in bed, Monica pulls David close, telling him that she always loved him. This is all David ever wanted to hear. David joins her in bed and they hold hands. For the first time, David dreams he is finally as real as any boy can be. A lady and a man wait outside the gate of a mysterious house. Their friends are trailing a vehicle. It is a Rolls-Royce carrying a ballerina girl. They are thugs because they have ski masks to hide their faces. They hack and enter the premises through a back gate and bump fists at their success. The others hide in the house as the girl enters the house. They suddenly grab her and pin her down. One even almost punches her, but they inject her with a sedative before putting her in a bag. They then sneak out the back unnoticed and get into a getaway van. The ballerina heist is a success. Their destination is a lonely, creepy mansion in the woods. It is a grand place, but only one man on site. It is their boss Lambert. They chain the girl to a bed and get instructions to babysit until morning, and they get $50 million, but Lambert takes all their phones away. Now that's fishy. The kidnappers get comfortable and start enjoying the house bar to get drunk. One of the kidnappers checks on the girl. She is whimpering in bed. Then she takes the blindfold off. She has a soft heart, this one. She even pinky promises to keep her safe. Then the child says, "I'm sorry about what's gonna happen to you." The lady is spooked and asks their team leader, but no one knows the girl's father, so the leader decides to scare the girl to tell him her father's name. Then she says Christophe Lazar. He is so scared he wants to leave immediately. One kidnapper says he is an urban legend, an imaginary crime boss, but they are really scared. One kidnapper decides to watch cartoons but gets spooked by another goon. She is mad at him, slapping him all over the place and kicks him out of the room. He is stupid and draws profanity on another goon's face before going to the basement to smoke some marijuana. He gets spooked by a rat, but then something suddenly drags him away. What could it be? He is shouting for help and the lady kidnapper hears Dean yelling and comes to check on him. She gives up and walks up the stairs, only to find Dean on the seat. She kicks the chair and the head falls off. She screams like hell and attracts one other kidnapper. They decide to call everybody. It is a murder mystery and a headless man, a signature for one assassin called Valdez known to work for Mr. Lazar. Could the hunters be the hunted? The sniper called Rickles decides to leave immediately, but he finds the front door closed. Big man called Peter lunges at the iron gate, but it does not budge, but it triggers the lockdown mechanism. This whole thing was a setup, but why set up thugs with a ballerina girl? Rickles and Joey decide to take out the others and run, cocking their guns ready for action. Rickles stops suddenly. He is just standing there. Joey calls, but he doesn't answer. Then he falls down. His face has been ripped apart. Joey wonders what could have done this, running around pointing the gun at everyone. They decide to get rough with the girl. To get answers, Peter volunteers and is about to shoot the girl when Joey intervenes. They are all turning against each other when the girl Abigail breaks her fingers and takes off the cuffs. She then reveals big fangs. She is a freaking vampire, and she almost bites Peter when they paint the walls with her brains. However, she wipes it off like it's nothing and roars, not caring about the many bullets going through her. They kidnapped a ballerina vampire. They are the food, and she is the freaking Valdez, killing for her father. They start thinking of ways to kill a vampire. Holy water, steaks, avoiding mind control, garlic, and Tammy says daylight is a big one, so they start hunting her like cavemen with sticks, but she is nowhere to be seen until they find her in the ballroom, dancing on stage with their headless compatriot. She drops the body and jumps at Tammy, punching her until Peter grabs her off Tammy. She is quite a monster, and takes Peter's crucifix and stabs him with it hundreds of times. The leader tries to stake her, but the stake is driven into his leg instead. She is freaking unbeatable and literal demon. Joey comes up with an idea to jab her with the sedative again, and they go hunting again. Tammy is checking a creepy box when bats scare her and she reels back, falling into a murky pool. It is full of dead bodies. She screams like hell at all the dead bodies liquefying terrifying in the pool. Joey is running to save her, but Peter is worried about a splinter. Without noticing the vampire ballerina approaching, Abigail chases him and he runs like a scared child. She is breaking doors apart and dancing wildly. Abigail is having fun taunting them, tossing them down the stairs. She is about to bite Frank when Tammy tries to help, but she gets bitten in the hand. Peter also helps by holding her down to get the sedative in her system. She is scary and threatens to engorge on their blood, but soon passes out. She wakes up in a cage and starts pretending to be a little girl again. Then she says, "There was never any money. Lambert works for me. I like playing with my food." Tammy is worried about changing and starts freaking out. Abigail kicks down the door like it's made of paper, throwing Frankie flying into the dirt. Before she bites Frankie, Joey cracks a window open and Abigail's hand bursts into bits due to the sunlight. She screams in pain but starts healing immediately. Tammy starts hearing voices in her head. Abigail takes control of her mind, saying, "Jessica, you are mine," before making Tammy attack Peter by biting him in the neck. Tammy then finishes the big man off, draining his blood. Abigail then makes Tammy dance like a puppet ballerina, a mindless marionette. She attacks Joey and Frankie, the only two kidnappers remaining. She corners them in the library, but as she lunges at them, Joey reflects the sun and she blows up into bloody mess. Frankie and Joey follow a secret door to find Lambert. He is also a vampire. Lambert knocks out Joey before offering Frankie a deal. Frankie decides to turn by getting bitten and drinking vampire blood. He vomits a lot of blood as he turns. However, he turns on Lambert and stakes him, making him explode. Frankie is about to drain Joey when Abigail enters and attacks Frankie, but he is stronger and starts draining her instead, while Joey lowers the shields and breaks for it. However, she hits a dead end and Frankie catches her, tossing her all over with his newfound super strength. He smashes her into submission but does not kill her. He drops her to her death, but Abigail slides over and saves her. They decide to work together against the new madman. Joey has a fire poker and Abigail has jaws and theatrics, but she gets her neck broken and Joey gets pinned to the wall and told to wait there. Abigail is a fighter and quite strong, but she is about to be drained completely and Joey is helpless. She remembers the pinky swear. She is almost dead. Frankie decides to bite Joey and turn her into his puppet, telling her to take the stake and kill Abigail. She has no choice now, or so he thinks. Abigail starts retreating, but Joey attacks Frankie instead. They both start attacking Frankie again together. They drive a stake through him and he bursts into bits of flesh too. Abigail and Joey are safe. What a bloody mess. Will Joey turn too? Abigail says, "You are fine, now that he is dead." But then Abigail's father Lazar shows up. He is Count Dracula himself and scary as the devil. Abigail steps in to save Joey and the fanged father calms down. But then he suggests she leaves because it's getting awfully close to dinner time. What a crazy turnout of events. A man is telling a head monk that danger is coming, but he is a drunkard, so the head monk doubts they are about to be attacked. Suddenly the whole place is shaken by explosive attacks. Two guards are killed in action immediately by countless bullets from a machine gun below. There are men in black on the roof too trying to infiltrate the monastery. The monk realizes there is no escape as more men enter through the windows. Everybody runs away to save their lives, but the man runs towards the attackers instead. A woman and her son hear the commotion outside and decide to run away before the attackers get to them. A shooter uses a laser to tag the child and almost takes the shot when the messenger attacks the shooter, throwing him down many floors. The woman is confused about the strange man helping them and shoots at him, but he is super fast at evading the bullets. The head monk is about to get shot when a car busts through the monastery gates. The messenger man jumps on his bike and follows them. It becomes a reckless chase between mother and child, heads of the gang and the messenger. The gang leader shoots the bike and the messenger flips in the air, shooting their tires without caring about falling. The messenger decides to ask for help from the Ghost Rider after his failure. Tonight a woman is fighting to save her son from thugs who want to kidnap him. The spirit takes control of Johnny and he rides madly to go and save them. Johnny is still fighting to control his body, but there is no winner as the spirit keeps popping out of him like a demon. The woman is struggling desperately to control the car, but the thugs keep knocking them sideways. Meanwhile, the Ghost Rider can sense their distress and knows their location. The car runs into a ditch and stalls. The thugs come out and start harassing the mother and child. The mother is a fighter, but a knock to the back of the head disables her. Just as the thugs are about to shoot the woman and take her son, they hear demonic sounds. Suddenly the Ghost Rider in flames flies above them, leaving great black smoke. He has come to rescue the innocent mother and child. The thugs think shooting a possessed man will work, but bullets do not even hurt the Ghost Rider. Using a flaming hook and chain as a whip, he takes the evil men directly to hell in flames. The Ghost Rider then does the weirdest thing. He looks into the soul of a thug instead of killing him instantly. He can feed on the fear of evil men. He sees all the evil and decides to take the bad man's soul. Before he can suck it out, the other thugs come with grenade launchers and blow him away, but a demon cannot die so easily. While traveling with the men who abducted him, the boy interferes with the driver, causing the vehicle to swerve dangerously. He is very quick to put on his seat belt before the vehicle crashes. He unbuckles to make a run for it, but one of the thugs clutches his leg. He struggles a bit and gets free and breaks into a run. The fuel tank is leaking and one thug thug is stuck in the SUV, his partner leaves him for dead to chase after the boy. There is a loud explosion that shocks the boy. He trips while looking back and hurts his leg. The leader of the thugs finds him in the ditch and abducts him again. He drags him to a nearby campsite where they steal a van from a couple since they have guns. As soon as they are back on the road, the Ghost Rider scents them and rides out to save the boy. The boy is bait as they get big bombers to destroy the Ghost Rider. The mother goes to save her son while the Ghost Rider goes to meet the gang head-on. The leader of the thugs fires a rocket at the Ghost Rider. Assured of quick victory, the Ghost Rider is hit in a big explosion which makes the thugs celebrate their victory against the demon. Their victory is short-lived as the Ghost Rider emerges unharmed. With his hook and chain, he starts sending them to hell in flames. The Ghost Rider is angry and splits a running thug in two halves. He is shot in the mouth but spits out the bullets as molten iron. The thugs shoot another rocket at him, determined to end him. The Ghost Rider goes down in big explosion again. The Ghost Rider is hurt and realizes he also needs bigger weapons. He sees the crane crusher and decides to enchant it, making it a fiery demonic weapon. In a few seconds, the Ghost Rider scatters the thugs like ants, setting them ablaze mercilessly. Later he is apprehended by the devil and his minions. Using a spell they take away his Ghost Rider abilities. The boy is the devil's son and he gives Johnny the Ghost Rider demon back to save him from his father. While the mother watches, the Ghost Rider comes back and burns all the devil's minions in one strike of his fiery chain. The devil abducts the boy, forcing the Ghost Rider to summon his superbike and chase after them. He is angry and rips the transmission line off the vehicle, causing it to lose control and crush into a pile of wreckage. The Ghost Rider is now stronger than the devil and he tosses him in the air before slamming him down, opening a hole that takes the devil straight to hell in flames. The Ghost Rider fulfills his penance and raises his hands to the heavens. He takes the boy out of the wreckage. He is limp and seems to be dead as the Ghost Rider hands him over to his mother. However, the Ghost Rider has awoken the angelic powers in fallen demons and he uses this angelic power to bring the boy back. The Civil War is starting in the south. Jonah Hex is riding with the Northern Army. They kill many Confederate soldiers, bombing and attacking their camps. Jonah Hex even sentences some to death by firing squad. There are heavy losses on both sides. Jonah is caught by the enemies and bound to a cross. Jonah tries to beg for his life and those of his wife and child. Turnbull does not listen and orders for the family to burn alive. Imagine the horror of watching your family burn helplessly. Turnbull is not done yet. He wants to brand Jonah Hex, marking him forever, and so he brands Jonah with a red-hot branding iron. Luckily he is saved by Crow Indians. They save him using mystical traditional magic, cursing him with ability to speak to the dead. Once healed, he becomes a bounty hunter, killing 3 outlaws in a nearby town. Jonah is mean-looking, not a man to joke around, and people run and hide from his sight. He has come for his reward on the Clayton boys, a bunch of local thugs. The sheriff refuses to pay. It is a setup and they start shooting at Jonah. Jonah opens fire too, but from 2 revolving machine guns. He cuts down the men and puts holes everywhere. He is a madman. Only the sharpshooter remains, hiding in the bell tower. Jonah shoots the bell, distracting the man before shooting him down. A man rushes and takes the boots off the dead man. They are poor folk here. Jonah takes his $100 reward and gives change to the dead sheriff. He then makes one of the town's folk a new sheriff. He then shoots a lamp and burns the place down before heading out epically. A boy sees horsemen chasing after their train. The mother recognizes the Turnbull gang and scoots down in fear. The railway has been rigged with explosives and a thug is placing the detonator. The platoon has been infiltrated by the enemy in disguise and many get shot before the hijackers reveal bomb vests strapped to their bodies. The horsemen board the train with great expertise, forcing the conductor to jump off. They separate the carriages and leave the people behind. But then the thug with the detonator sets off the explosives, killing everyone on the train, while the gang escapes with heavy artillery weapons, which Turnbull arrives to inspect personally. The incident report goes directly to the president. The president orders the generals to find Jonah Hex, their only hope against Turnbull. Jonah is leaving a pleasure house when they barge in saying, "Jonah Hex, by presidential act, you are hereby inducted into military service." Hearing Turnbull is alive gets him on board. He is owed vengeance. The general shows Hex a dead member of the Turnbull crew. With one touch, the man comes back to life. Hex really is a cursed man. The skin on the man starts burning up. In pain he spills the information about Turnbull's hideout. Letting him go turns the man into a corpse again. Hex rides wildly to find Turnbull and his men, but first he makes a stop at the gunsmith, checking out some new deadly toys. He settles on some handheld mini crossbow cannonball shooters. Hex then heads to the Turnbull gang's hideout at Fort Resurrection. He finds the designs of a nation-killing weapon, an ionizing gun designed to obliterate Independence Harbor on 4th of July. Turnbull appears, and Jonah Hex starts attacking the gang. His crossbow guns are a lifesaver, and he blows the gang all over the place. However, one thug rounds behind and shoots Hex at point-blank range. Can he walk away from this one? Does death fear him too or what? Jonah is nowhere to be seen, meaning he is still alive but being hunted. Finally they get him surrounded. He can barely stand and falls down helplessly. Luckily he slips away on his horse and survives narrowly, still alive, somehow. Jonah falls off his horse, almost dead. Who will save him now? Many crows gather around the dying man men, waiting to feast. Turnbull is testing the nation killer, launching many shells into the town. The town people look at the smoking balls in wonder. Turnbull then releases the detonator, ionizing the entire town into atoms. Jonah is lucky again. He is close to a Crow Indian camp, and he gets rescued, though he may not survive the night. They use ancient rituals to heal him, and a smoke spirit enters him. He shakes in pain as the spirit takes control of his body. His eyes light up as the smoke spirit leaves him. A death crow crawls out of his mouth. Jonah comes back to life. This man can cheat death for real. He calls out Turnbull as he wakes up, and gets back to his mission of vengeance. Jonah arrives at Independence Harbor with many crows. He throws an axe and kills a guard instantly. Other men are testing flamethrowers on deck. One of the thugs tries to burn Jonah with a burning torch, but Jonah is too quick for him. Jonah grabs him by the neck and takes him down. His opponent overpowers him and is about to plunge a knife into him when Jonah lights up his hand and burns his face. He then kills the man with the spinning blades of the ship's engine. Turnbull is on the ship riling up his men to wage war on the nation. Jonah is about to pull the trigger on Turnbull, but he shields himself with a female hostage. He surrenders his gun and allows the thugs to apprehend him. They are chained in the ship's holding area, but the lady sets herself free and unshackles Jonah too. Turnbull orders the firing of the atomizing warheads onto a naval ship, and then they release the detonator, blowing up the ship into oblivion. Jonah and the lady make a good team, systematically eliminating the terrorist guards. Jonah even uses the flamethrower on the terrorists, burning them mercilessly. However, the city is in range and Turnbull releases all the fireballs into the streets. Jonah manages to stop the detonator by throwing his axe at the conveyor. He then thrusts Turnbull into the cogwheels, locking his neck in a dangerous spot. The detonator falls and explodes, killing Turnbull instantly in the inferno. Jonah and the lady run like hell and jump off as the ship explodes. The people are saved, and watching the explosions, a free black man says,
4th of July.
The soldiers' first stop is a Nazi garrison. They need to rescue Jeff. They are spotted by two soldiers, but they are shot down by Larson using arrows. He is an expert at dropping soldiers like flies with arrows, and he can shoot arrows straight through two men. They cut the fence and start their assault on the camp. It is a surprise attack, and they drop them one after another. It seems too easy, and they clear the compound, one Nazi soldier at a time. They even have time for a laugh with their victims, before cutting them down mercilessly. One of the Nazi soldiers notices the intruders, but Larson blows them with a grenade. Hayes is on the turret gun, and he has fun as he puts many holes through the whole place. Larson is a beast and is plunging knives into soldiers, cutting them open and making a bloody mess of everybody in his way. They find Jeff. His nipples are bloody from being tortured, but he is just calm. Having succeeded, they get out of there in style, with bombs going off. The first part is over and successful. The undercover team arrives in Morocco in good time. The guns are being checked for securing the beach. It is a Nazi lockdown. Their target is a Nazi engineer. He has just come from torturing somebody and has bloody hands, probably an unfortunate Jewish soul. On the way in, they peep into a window. A tortured person is hanging by the chains. Poor soul. They know this is a very dangerous man. The two are pretending to be gold dealers. Nazi have a lot of stolen gold at this time. The Nazi engineer is very pleased with their presentation, even clapping with joy. Jeff goes straight to strategy work, planning a course for their boat to Fernando Po Beach off the coast of Morocco. The engineer is attracted to the female secret agent and approaches her in the bar. Let the games begin. The moment is tense as they smoke, staring at each other intensely. She says the worst thing possible to a Nazi. She says, not only do I respect and admire the Jew, I am one. Crazy, right? They size each other's, but they laugh it off as bad joke. This is a dangerous game she is playing. At the bar, the agent get new intel. The submarine is leaving earlier by 3 days, and there are more soldiers on the port of Fernando Po than expected. The assassins have to travel faster. However, there is only one problem. As Hayes says, this is a fishing boat, not a speedboat, so they cannot move faster. So Jeff the strategist says, if we can't move faster, we go shorter. This exposes them to the U-boats and the British warships, but they have to do it, for London is about to fall to Nazi bombings. They are the last hope for the Allied forces to join, and Churchill tells them to do what must be done for victory. Soon they encounter a British destroyer. They pretend they are fishermen again, but they are tired of games and they ask to see the commander of the vessel. The major says, I think we are a little past upset, Commander. Suddenly there is torpedo alert and everybody runs to man their battle stations. It's a battle for survival as the destroyer releases distraction charges. The sailors manage to get out of range from the German torpedoes. Two English gentlemen pretend to be marooned at sea on a fishing vessel. A German company of Coast Guard officers are onto them and demand to see their papers. Instead of becoming scared, the gentlemen start laughing and making fun. The huge one in spec says, I will give you $100 to shoot him. The head of the Coast Guard is angry at being touched and thinks they are drunk from the half-drunk bottle of wine. Below deck, the sailors toss and turn things over. What are they looking for? The soldiers pour gasoline on the fishing boat, ready to burn the men alive. Surprisingly, these are assassins assassins. The soldiers are attacked suddenly. The laughing man shoots them with his hidden automatic gun. The big man is a surgeon with a knife, cutting some of the sailors up and cutting the general's throat. In a minute, all the soldiers dead and they throw them in the sea. One of the men comes on board as their ship is being fired upon. Suddenly the destroyer ship goes boom and sinks in flames. This is a special crew of hardy war men representing Winston Churchill's war room. Hayes the sailor, Freddy the explosive expert, Larson the weapon master, and Jeff the strategist. The mission is a covert suicide mission and top secret, blowing up a German submarine. Two other agents are working undercover, getting closer to the Nazi top command. They are after the briefcase with the secret German war plans. She steals the case in a clever case contraption without being noticed. The junior officers start taunting the beautiful lady until their unit commander stops them. The leader offers to carry her bag, but the other secret agent arrives in time to save the moment. That was close. The risks are huge and they have a few seconds to unlock the case and steal the secret locations of the German warboats. They send the manifest to Winston's office via Morse code. They are smooth operators and return the bag again without being noticed by the Germans, just in time for the meal they ordered. The undercover agents have to make a deal with the pirates too. The lady comes bearing petty gifts, but these are weapon dealers. The king of the pirates is showing off his Paul marksman skills. The lady puts him to shame by using all the guns and hitting the mark every time, so they decide to have some drinks and cigars, and the pirate king agrees to give them militia men. They soon meet with the assassins immediately, even becoming buddies. The pirate king asks his men to show their strength and weapons, a pretty bunch of men and weapons. Of course there is money, 4 pirates are a greedy bunch, and it's a done deal. Soon, one of the agents is caught fixing a bomb in the engine room. He has a concealed weapon and he shoots them by surprise. The tiny gun jams and he stabs the last one with a short knife. The lady is playing dress up with the evil Nazi engineer, dressed as Queen Cleopatra. They are going to a beer festival. The sailors are in costumes for the beach party too. Is it a distraction or just the life at Fernando Po Beach? The undercover agent pays the pleasure girls to distract the soldiers. How foxy is that? And he keeps sending them champagne bottles. The lady is full of surprises as she thrills everyone with music and dance, enchanting the evil Nazi. In the meantime, Larson starts shooting lookout guards with arrows. The party is really an elaborate distraction as the assassins are free to roam, setting bombs on the ships and shooting soldiers in execution style since they are dressed as Germans. They set up many bombs on the ships and the anchor, just as the lady is finishing her little party, and they lock everyone at the party inside the hall. It is a carnage in the ship as Larson and Jeff clear out the lower decks. These two are death dealers and drop body after body. The sailors stand no chance. Larson decides to step up the arrow game with an axe. Is this man insane? I would not want to find out. The guys at the party hear the explosion as the anchor breaks off, but there is no exit. The oil tanks also explode and alerts the soldiers. Now all of Fernando Po is awake and alert. It is time for the pirate militia to help shooting up the beach at the oncoming soldiers. They are good at their jobs, even shelling the beach. However, the German sailors are retaliating with rifle fire and machine guns. So much firepower on display on this beach tonight. Soon, the thieves are out of range and their mission is again a success for this part. But there is more. They have rigged the S-boats so they cannot be chased. Indeed, there is a master planner here. However, the girl is still a captive to the evil German. Now she is exposed. She pulls a concealed gun on him, putting a bullet through his skull. Bye-bye, evil torturer. The duo steals a boat and joins with the assassins and pirates. All groups have been successful. Now they dial up the British destroyer and the Prime Minister is told. Bad news, they didn't sink her. Good news, they stole her. The League of Ungentlemanly Warfare joins the British sailor again, and the Major says, "Good to see you again, Commander." The guy on parole visits his parole apartment, but finds it unlocked. A couple of rebels are hiding in his house and they take him hostage at gunpoint. He is a charming little fellow, so they let him live. There is a riot going on about the rebels hiding here. The thugs decide to shoot up the rioting mob, sending everybody running for safety. Two judges respond to the escalating terrorism and gun wars. They are pinned down by fire from all sides, so they call for backup. Judge Dredd responds to their distress call, driving through the fire. He is a fearless lawman and stares at the shooters, unbothered by the raining bullets. Judge Dredd orders the rebels to surrender, but receives more bullets instead. He decides to judge them with immediate effect for their insolence. The thugs continue shooting wildly. Dredd breaches the house from the ceiling and activates wildfire bullets from his programmable gun. A rookie decides to check the next room and is shot at point-blank range and dies on the spot. A rebel takes the judge's gun, but it is booby-trapped and he gets electrocuted. Dredd keeps shooting rapid-fire bullets, getting some of the rebels. He even has double stunt bullets. His gun is a true marvel. The head thug is alone and decides to surrender to Dredd, but he tries to pull a gun on Dredd, and so he drops him right there. The incident attracts much media attention as many question the executions. Dredd is still around and notices a funny robot and orders it to stop. He is about to shoot the robot when the little fellow opens the flaps. Dredd pulls him out of the robot by the cheek. He tries to explain he had nothing to do with the shooting and had just arrived. Dredd judges him, sending him back to prison for 5 years. disappears. Then he walks out like nothing just happened, the relentless lawman. A prisoner receives a mysterious box from the warden. At first sight it contains a picture, but is a concealable gun, and the prisoner shoots the warden in the neck. The guns are voice activated and now he cannot control them. The prisoner, named Rico, orders the system to shoot the warden. By the time the guards arrive, Rico is gone and the warden very dead. The madman is on the loose once again to roam the streets, but he has a top secret pickup in a nearby army. It is the uniform and weapons of a judge, but he is a convict. How could this be? The old man at the army is surprised when he does not get stunned, and Rico proves he is a judge by shooting him with a judge's gun. He then activates a decommissioned warrior robot, telling it to defend him. Rico has a crazy plan, and he starts by shooting a reporter. He is put on Judge Dredd's uniform, which is caught on camera. As usual, Judge Dredd is a no-nonsense lawman and is assisting a fellow judge. He blows up a sleek vehicle for repeated traffic infractions. Crazy, right? Just then, heavily armed men tell him he is under arrest for murder. Judge Dredd is on trial for murder, and the video is used as the main exhibit, and he gets sentenced to life in prison by the Council of Judges. Rico now breaks into the general's office with his warrior robot. Rico and the general share a plan to create anarchy and destroy the regime. On transit to prison, Dredd meets the little fellow he sent to prison. Imagine the irony. The little fellow is mad but tells Dredd it is karma he is there. While the little fellow is still ranting, another thug tries to stab Dredd with a knife. However, their shuttle is shot down by desert pirates. The pilots get shot by mistake and the craft starts burning midair before crashing in the desert. Dredd and the little fellow are hanging from the rafters when they wake up. The little fellow is a charmer again. Unfortunately, the pirates are cannibals and want to eat him, and someone is already being roasted. Luckily, Dredd sets himself free and kills all of the pirates and saves him. It is time to get back and kill Rico for destroying his life. But why did Rico do it? Rico and the general start their plan for anarchy by killing the judges. Some get killed in a fake bank robbery where they find only bombs. Some even find their lockers rigged with bombs at work. In the streets, the warrior robot kills more judges. Rico is there to witness the chaos begin. The ruling council is concerned about the recent attacks on the judges. The general, however, is unbothered, asking for risky military action like making clones. The general and the council authorize the Janus program to make clone judges. This is a mistake since Rico enters and kills the entire council. Dredd and the little fellow are about to sneak into the city through a fiery chimney. Dredd leads the cowardly guy into the tunnel and he falls down from being scared. Dredd saves him again, shooting a hole for them to slide through into the vents in the ash area. Dredd knocks out a judge and takes his uniform. He cannot wear his own, since he is a criminal now. Dredd runs to save the general but finds he is together with Rico, shooting himself to blame Dredd again. Dredd and the little fellow have to fight for their lives again, pursued by all judges. They are lucky to escape on a flying superbike, but the judges are in hot pursuit. Dredd is a great pilot and escapes swiftly between the buildings with bullets flying past them. It is a crazy chase but Dredd remains in control, even taking out a judge in midair, again saving the little fellow. Rico, the madman, gives the Janus program his DNA to make more mad clones. The general is not too happy about this change of plans, so he is ranting at Rico. Guess what? Rico has his grievances too, and he asks the robot to rip the general apart, which it does without hesitating. Dredd and company try to break into the cloning lab but meet the Iron Warrior. He attacks them viciously and grabs the lady by the neck. Rico saves them by stopping the Iron Robot, so they surrender to the madman and his doctor. Dredd is horrified to see how the clones look. One even opens its eyes. They have accelerated growth but have no souls, just functioning organs. Surprisingly, the robot goes nuts and attacks Rico. The little fellow has messed up the robot circuits. The big soldier is down but Rico escapes from Dredd, and the clones are starting to wake up. Everybody is fighting somebody. The ladies want to kill each other, and Dredd and Rico are in a shootout, destroying the whole lab. Just as Rico is about to escape with a flying bike, Dredd catches up. This time he is not forgiving, and he says, "Court's adjourned," before throwing him off the Tower of Liberty. A young man named Wonka dances in the streets. The passers-by are enchanted by his dancing and they join him. He had just arrived in the city with a heart full of dreams. Daydreaming is forbidden and he pays a silver coin as a penalty. He wanders around in the evening since he is homeless. He has a kind heart and spares a silver for a homeless lady. He tosses his last silver in the air, but it slips into the drain. He is a magician of sorts and lights a candle by blowing it. Amazingly, he even produces hot chocolate from his top hat. A stranger man with a dog offers to help him find lodging for the night. Wonka is taken to the Mrs. Scrub at Laundry Services complex. She has stained teeth but her smile is welcoming enough for Wonka. She even gives him some gin for worth. Just before producing a contract that Wonka is about to sign when a girl whispers that he read the small print. Mrs. Scrubert is a con artist and the terms are many, and Wonka cannot read. So he signs anyway, before he gets bonked by the huge man. The girl is soon thrown in the chicken coop for trying to interfere. The next day, Wonka hits the streets, charming the crowd with his theatrics. He is floating chocolate, and soon the biggest chocolate makers want to taste. Sensing the unique quality, they tell Wonka his chocolate is terrible. The chocolate has magical powers and make them float like balloons. Now who can resist that? Everybody wants some and Wonka gets many silvers. However, the police arrive suddenly and everybody scatters. Some police use poles to bring down the floating people, and also confiscate Wonka's earnings. Once again he is left with nothing but a heart full of dreams. Wonka presents Mrs. Screwbit with a single silver. Surprisingly, the big man locks the doors behind him. The two intimidate Wonka, telling him his bill has increased. Mrs. Screwbit tells Wonka to pay 10,000 silvers for his stay. Unable to pay, the big man shoves Wonka through a hole in the wall. He falls into the underground washing and bleaching area. On trying to leave, he is told how he did not read the small print. The watchdog barks and they get to work. Imagine being a slave supervised by a dog. Sad, right? They even have a roll call, yet there are only 5. It is a terrible place with work all day. He has a bed but it has no screws and he falls over. He is served sloppy broth which he tosses aside. Wonka opens his mini chocolate factory and offers the girl who served him a special chocolate. Wonka tells her of how a mother let him lick the chocolate spoon, and his dream of sharing chocolate with the world. While eating chocolate he has an idea. He creates a contraption for the dog to do his work. It is his ploy to find time to sell chocolate. While his enslavers are canoodling, Noodles the slave girl sneaks him out hidden in a laundry bag. However, his chocolates are missing and he needs giraffe milk to make more. Noodles takes Wonka to a nearby zoo. Using chocolate mints, he calms the giraffe before milking it while Noodles pets her to keep her still. Wonka is in high spirits and dances around with his cane and coat before they run out hand in hand. They grab a big bunch of balloons and start flying, alongside many flamingos. Wonka is harassed by the police chief, getting his head dunked in the frozen fountain water. The chocolate war has begun. Wonka is told to stop selling chocolate in the town with immediate effect. He continues selling anyway. Pretending to be a waiter, he sells unsuspecting customers the most amazing chocolate. The police chase him down the street but he disappears in the manholes and disappears in the drains. Wonka also sells chocolate on the train and the customers dance with pleasure. He even pretends to be a barber to sell chocolate to the clients there. The police keep chasing him without luck. They also taste his chocolate and sing like little girls. The accountant shows Wonka they have made many hundreds of silvers and business is very good. The competitors are losing business, they curve points down, and the police chief is in trouble because he has not stopped Wonka. Wonka's chocolate is like a love potion, making people fall in love. The streets have never been happier. Everyone is dancing everywhere. He drops down the drain again, but this time the police notice his methods. In the dead of night, a strange creature sneaks into Wonka's room. The target is the jar of chocolate, but it is a clever trap, and a little green man is caught in the glass jar. His name is Lumpa Lumpa. He is a clever fellow and he hits Wonka with a pan before escaping with his chocolate. The next day they all sneak out and show Wonka some key. To his surprise, they have bought him a derelict room to set up his shop. The next day Wonka opens his wonderland of chocolate pleasures. The place is magnificent and everything is made of chocolate, even life-size trees made out of chocolate. It is a literal chocolate theme park and everybody enjoys the adventure. There are cotton candy clouds and Wonka throws sugary treats in the air. Suddenly everybody starts growing hair wildly. A girl develops a mustache and a man grow long purple hair. The customers get angry and start destroying the place, even setting it on fire. The dream goes up in smoke as Wonka begs them to stop. In the evening Wonka sits in the destroyed place in sadness. The rich chocolate makers come and bribe him. He makes a deal to set them captives free but he has to leave town. He has been set up and his boat blows up in the ocean just after he jumps off. The chief of police gets a mega-sized bribe paid in chocolate. Mrs. Scrubbit releases the captives as agreed, except Noodles the orphan girl. She is thrown in the chicken coop instead of freedom. The next day, the team sneaks into a cathedral. They want to prove the corruption of the chocolate kings. Noodles find the secret ledger but they are caught by the rich men. They confiscate the ledger and lock Wonka and Noodles in a vault. They open the valves releasing chocolate to drown the two youngsters. Wonka and Noodles are completely submerged in chocolate and are about to drown, but Lumpa Lumpa knocks out the priest and opens the drain valve saving Wonka and Noodles. The rich men are telling the police of the accident but Wonka and Noodles appear. The chocolate kings try to run but they ate his flying chocolate and they start floating. Noodles opens a street valve and the fountain flows with chocolate. Wonka welcomes everybody to share the chocolate. He sits down to eat the bar of chocolate his mother made and reads her message. Looking into the crowd he memory appears and blows him a kiss. He had shared chocolate with the world.